Monument Park was built because at the time, in the early 70s, the Vietnam War was going on. There were guys coming home from Vietnam who were very passionate about service to the country, and they wanted to put something up that would commemorate the huge number of losses that this village and town had. We thought we had lost approximately 90 men between World War I, II, Korea, and Vietnam. The number is truly somewhere between 120 and 130, and through research we're finding more and more people who died in those wars. Mr. Anthony Calavita Sr. was the supervisor, and he agreed to cooperate with the veterans to develop the park. It was dedicated in 1972. Originally it was going to be a town ceremony, but coincidentally Richard Nixon was in Westchester County. Mr. Calavita got Mr. Nixon, the president, to come unannounced to the park to the surprise and elation of the populace that were there for the ceremony. Nixon gets out of the car on White Plains Road, picks a wreath up, goes up to the base of the monument where the flag was, places the wreath, and said the following, which is on the front of the monument itself. So the sole attraction to the monument, the initial monument, is the American flag, which most servicemen, either present or retired or having left the service, go back into civilian life, believe that the flag is what we fight for. It's the symbol of freedom, it's the symbol of justice, it's the symbol of fairness to all people in the world. That's why it stands there on its own, to recognize those principles and what those men fought for. The Gold Star Mothers Association was started in 1928, about 10 years after the end of World War I. The loss of a child by a parent is not chronologically what should happen in life. So the fact that men in World War I made the ultimate sacrifice and created the loss for the mother especially was the ignition to recognize Gold Star mothers. So over the years, the Society for Gold Star Mothers grew. The veterans in Eastchester felt very strongly about the fact that Gold Star mothers were not recognized. There was money available, and there was a sculptor available who wanted to do something. If you think about it, we know that there's between 90 and 125 men and women who died in the 4 wars, and there are that number of Gold Star mothers in Eastchester. The Medal of Honor was developed right after the Civil War. It was set up in 1868. So some of the men out of the Civil War were Medal of Honor recipients. And incidentally, you never say winners. It's not a winner. They didn't win it. They received it. They're recipients. And then World War I comes along, and out of World War I, Eastchester has 2 Medal of Honor recipients. Out of World War II, there's 1, and out of Vietnam, there is 1. Number 1 is the Medal of Honor recipient Richard O'Neill. He was in the Fighting 69th Division, which also had the likes of Colonel Donovan, who became eventually the head of the CIA. O'Neill was a runner. He gave information that was significant in saving the lives of American soldiers in the Meuse-Argonne battle, and for that he received the Medal of Honor. Number 2, probably one of the greatest American achievers of World War I was a man by the name of Eddie Rickenbacker. So Eddie Rickenbacker became originally a mechanic, and then he became a pilot in World War I, and later became a commander of a squadron. Rickenbacker is called the ace of aces for World War I. You become an ace when you shoot down 5 enemy planes. Rickenbacker shot down 26, more planes than any other American in World War I. Major Robert Chaley was born in Brooklyn, New York. Chaley's plane was shot down in the Pacific by the Japanese, and he was captured and taken aboard a Japanese prisoner of war ship in the Pacific, where he was beaten fatally. He died on the ship. His body was jettisoned into the sea, but because he was captured by the Japanese, he saved his squadron from being shot down by the Japanese. He told the members of his squadron, keep going, I'm going to have to ditch into the Pacific. And when he ditched into the Pacific, the Japanese picked him up, and you know the story of Robert Chaley. The fourth and most recent Medal of Honor recipient in the town of Eastchester is Robert Murray. He went to Harvard University and graduated with a master's degree in accounting, and then went into the United States Army infantry and went to Vietnam. While on an exploratory mission to locate enemy soldiers, Murray, who by then was a squad sergeant, was walking through the jungle with his squad when one of the members of the squad tripped a string that pulled the pin from a grenade. In a heroic action, Murray jumped on the grenade to save the rest of his squadron and died instantly from the explosion that he covered to protect the rest of his squadron. The reason why that I think the park is important, and I think its significance, can be summed up in a quote by a philosopher by the name of George Santayana. If you do not learn the lessons of history, the episodes will occur again. So if we do not understand the lessons that were taught by these four brave men, then we are doomed to have more Medal of Honor recipients, more violence in the world, and more casualties.